Today we are inlaying these bow ties with nothing but a mallet and chisel. Let's get into it. Alright, so I cut my bow ties out and I'm going to decide which side I want to face up. I'm going to mark it with an arrow so that way I can always make sure it is going to line up in the same direction each time as I test fit this. And then I'm going to put it in my vise and introduce a very slight bevel to it. And this is also going to get rid of the marks from cutting it out, the saw marks from cutting it out. And this is just like a degree, maybe a half a degree bevel. It's just kind of creating a wedge shape, so as you drive it in, it'll be very tight. But you don't want to go too sharp of a bevel. When you drive it in, it could split your workpiece. So I'm just introducing a very gentle bevel. I do that on all sides. Alright, so I got my pieces all beveled, very slight bevel. I marked them all, and I'm just going to kind of lay them out where I think they're going to look cool. Have some double stick tape, the beveled side down. And then I'm going to cut, trying to do like a back bevel so the tape doesn't stick out at all because it'll interfere with the next step. Double check my positioning. This is just to make sure it doesn't wiggle around on me while I try to line it all up. Changing my mind a little. Alright, you can use this razor blade just fine, but it's beveled on both sides, so you want to be careful when you cut it in that you're not introducing the wrong type of bevel. This marking knife is flat on one side, so I can put it flat against my workpiece. And I'm going to start and work from both sides, very gentle, because if it gets caught in the grain can pull the knife out of away from the bow tie. So I'm just doing from both sides, real light cuts. All right, and on the ends, why I'm working from both, cutting from this side and then going in from this side, is because I don't want to go to this end and then slip and make a gouge out here. That'll be unsightly. If it's a deep gouge, it won't sand out. You'll just have this gross mark. So go in from both sides. All right, then I'm going to work my way around. All right, and there is our exact outline. All right, I'm going to drop my chisel right into the line. And then I'm just going to give it a very gentle tap, just to set that line in so I can see it better. This is tapered, so if you really drive it hard, you're going to push that grain out, possibly split this and then mushroom the edges all the way around. So then you won't have a nice tight fit. So I'm just enough pressure, just enough of a whack just to set the line. All right, now that I got my line defined, I'm going to start going across the grain. I don't want to start with the grain because if I drive real hard, like I said, I'll split that. And then I'm going to come back away from the line about 1/8 or 1/16 of an inch because I want to protect that line and do that as my final cut to clean up. So that way, if I drive in and I crank back like that, I can smush this grain here and bevel it out, smash it out, and then when you put your wedge back in there, you're going to have a gap. So I'm just going to start 1/8 inch or 1/16 inch in there or so. Alright, so as you go, you can use a router plane to go in there and flatten this out. But as you go down to the smaller sizes though, this is going to be too big. So instead of using this, I mean you can, it works out really well, but if you have a little practice, you can use the angle of your chisel with the bevel down to pare that out nice and flat. So a little practice, you'll be able to get it down flat. All right, now before I straighten this out, I'm going to start on this one. That way, as I work the bottom, the edge of the chisel doesn't dent the edge of the wood. So I'm always trying to protect my outside edge so I have a nice tight fit. So we're going to go start this side now. Do the same thing. Staying a 1/16 to 1/8 inch away. All right, now I should also mention, as I'm doing this, I'm not fully going as fast as I could go because I'm being a little conservative because I don't want to accidentally bust this out. This is edge, there's not a lot of meat here, so it's kind of a delicate thing. So I could accidentally split this and have a big chunk fall out. When I get into the middle here, then I'll just, as I'm doing these center pieces, hammering on it much harder and much more aggressive. But just playing safe because I don't want to bust these guys out on the end. All right, there's not really a good camera angle, I think, where you can see inside here without me totally covering up what I'm doing. Trying to work in an uncomfortable position here so you can see, but basically I'm taking the flat part of the chisel and I'm referencing from one side going across the other side, just eyeballing to get a nice flat area, so when I glue it down, I'll have a nice good glue bond from the back of the bow tie down. And you can see my outline here is still intact. So now that I'm down to depth, and I just measured that by going, putting my fingernail in there and then measuring here, and I want this to be proud a little bit when I drive it in so I have some room to plane it nice and flush. I know a lot of guys think, hey, I need this to be as thick as this to keep that crack from opening up. But if you're working with properly dried wood, the movement of this is not going to be that severe. So this is plenty to keep the crack from opening up. And really the purpose of this is more just decorative than it is functional, especially if you're working in properly dried wood. If you're not working in properly dried wood, you should set that piece aside and let it properly dry before you start working on it. Otherwise, all kinds of other bad things could happen. All right, so now that I am down to the depth I want and I'm pretty flat across the bottom, I'm going to start working this edge back to my line. So this is about 1/8. If it was a 16th, I'd probably go right to the line, but since I'm at 1/8, I'm going to split that line. So again, I don't want the wedge shape of the chisel to mushroom the edge of my finished piece. Now we'll drop right into the line, knife line, chop straight down. All right, now for the first test fit, I'm not going to drive it in there very hard. I'm just going to place it on top and look to see where it doesn't look like it's going to go. Right now it's super tight, so if I were to drive that in there, this wedge shape could split this side off. So I'm just looking where this piece overlaps my other piece if I didn't get it quite on there. And I'm only gently touching one side. If I get both sides in there and it's not fitting properly, I won't be able to get it back out. But we're looking pretty good so far. Now as I drive to the side, I don't know if you can see that gap in there on the camera. Probably not. But you might think, oh, I don't want to take any more off of this side because of that gap. But what's happening is that let me grab a square. All right, if this is the wall of the inside wall of your pocket and you have it not square, when you drive this in, it opens up a gap in there. So you might think, oh, I've cut too far on this side. I need to cut more on this side because it's still not fitting. But when in reality, you need to cut that piece off. That this might be sloping in towards the pocket. So creating a gap between the wall and that, because it's not beveled, not straight. So if it's straight, then it will fit tight. But if this is beveled and pushing your bow tie out, it's going to create a gap there. So to get rid of this gap, I think it's because I'm not as square as I could be. So I'm going to try to square that up. If you're having trouble chiseling square, if you hold this with your chisel as you work, that'll help give you a nice guide to know that you're going square. Down. But after a while of doing that, you'll start to get a feel for where you're at, and you won't need that training wheel anymore. All right, before I glue this in, I'm going to get rid of all the chips and sawdust that have fallen into the crack. You don't want dust in your crack. All right, so while I was trying to clean it out, I splintered off just a little edge right there. So I'm just going to add a little CA glue. Alright, I think we're ready to glue it down. Alright, so I got a good James King's persuader here and a block because I want to not splinter out any kind of sides, so I'm going to have a good block to tap on to get good even pressure all the way across, and just some wood glue. Standard everyday tight bond. And I'm not putting glue in this V area because I don't want to clean up glue that's showing between the crack. Alright, make sure my arrows go in the right direction. Get it going. Once you hear that sound change, you know you're all the way down. Clean up any glue around there. Alright, so next step is to hand plane it smooth. Alright, nice close-up shot of my work so you can inspect it and see that it's a perfectly tight bow tie with no gaps. I'm going to hit it with a little sandpaper. Alright, there we go, and then when we get a little finish on there to make the colors pop out, it's going to be pretty sweet.